bless his memory, I voted. In the spirit of one who told stories of poll tricks and walked us to the poll, I voted. In the spirit of equity and equality, the hope for, I voted. And because I believe it is time for change from what we've experienced over these 4 years, I voted. Are you voting? Did you vote? Please go out and vote. Please go out and cast your vote. Vote your conscience. Vote your party, your principle, and your pocket, and not just any of the one. All three. So if you've experienced a time than you have in recent years, don't just vote for that. People who haven't experienced the economic advantages that you have. If you have aligned yourself with a particular party, but its candidate does not live up to your moral requirements, don't just vote your party. If your principle is about pro choice, pro life, don't forget health care, use that in our community. Vote your party, your principle, your pockets as a combination, as a composite score, so that we get the kind of change that I think we need. And I hope that you will vote as well. I am live via Restream polling at, which is at the John J. Bagley School here in the Northwest Detroit, here on the northwest side of Detroit. And it is a line outside. It is not a long line. It is thankfully not too cold. It's supposed to get up to 57 degrees here in Detroit today. Hope those of you that are in the Metro Detroit area will get out and vote. It should be nice. It wasn't too cold. I was in line for 10 minutes, and it took me about another 5 for them to get me to my precinct. And it took me another 3.5 minutes maybe to actually vote. I much was walking into the polling location not knowing who I was voting for, which is why I normally don't take the literature of the folks outside, the canvassers, because I already know more often than not who I am voting for. Sometimes I might be undecided on one judge or another, but I and I want you to vote. And I want you, if you are a mother or father or grandmother, grandfather, I want you to invite those millennials that you are connected to vote in the name and in spirit of someone who has gone through great trial, tribulation, even sacrificed their lives, maybe. People will have this right to vote. Um, I cannot see the chat. Oh, there's the chat. Oh, I tried to see the chat. It won't let me do that. So if you're bless you. And I'm just thankful this morning. I'm going to go grab my morning Joe, get my work day started. Thank you, Herbert Holmes, for impressing upon us the importance of voting. As I live, I shall vote in your spirit and with your. I even had my step going as had my Herbert swag as I was walking to the poll. He loved to walk. And so I invite you to get up and get out and vote. Vote your conscience, but vote a composite of pockets, principle, or policy, may say both, and party. Don't just vote for your party if you know that candidate is not reflective of what you want to see your city, county, state, federal. Don't just vote for that candidate because they're in your party. Vote for the candidate that you think will do the best job. And for me, I must say, uh, I voted for Joe Biden. And I could enunciate or enumerate rather a number of reasons why I voted for Joe Biden. I voted for Gary Peters. And I could enumerate a number of reasons why. I voted for Cynthia Miller, who I think is just an outstanding judge, outstanding person, which I think makes an outstanding judge. I did tell those things that I voted. Some other things maybe I'll do with later, but I voted for those people. Now you vote your conscience. I hope that your conscience is reflective of mine, but you have your own personhood. I think it is important to not just vote uh, with a very narrow view. I consider it very narrow if you're just voting your pockets. And if you really understand voting your pockets, a lot of what you might be experiencing found nexus in the previous administration. But I won't go into that too much. Don't just vote your party. I would say I identify more with the Democratic Party. Um, but if there is a candidate that I believe will do a great job, I'm voting for that candidate without regard to the party. That didn't happen necessarily today, but it normally would. Vote your principle. I feel strongly about people's right to choose. I feel strongly about health care. I feel strongly about a lot of things. And because those things are undergirding the way in which I live and strive to live, I can't ignore them when someone else is the polar opposite. And sometimes I work to understand why they are the polar opposite, but those three things I have to vote in tandem, if you will. They are concentrated. They are together. Maybe that's a better way to say it. I cannot just vote my principles. Um, and I understand that my principles are my principles. And I understand that there are people have the right to have their own principles, parties, all of that, right? But when I'm thinking of how to cast my vote, I would say an undercurrent wind is telling me don't just think of party or principle or pockets or policy. Think of all four and how those can best be accomplished by who you are voting for. So I invite you, if you have not gone out to vote, I voted. Did you? It's Marcus Holmes. I feel like a roving reporter, but I do this every election. It's important to me because it was important to my dad. Hey, Latasha Little, I am seeing comments pop up finally. Okay, thank you so much. Um, I'm just trying to share what Herbert Holmes with me all of those years to be educated. It was important to him and my mom, Princess Holmes, bless their memory, for us to be educated and not just in the things of the book, right? To know what's going on in art and society and culture. That was important to them. And voting was so important to them. And especially to my dad. And as I got older, I understood because he began to share stories with me about the trouble they tried to give him when he went to vote, the trouble he experienced when he served this country and came back home from service and his job at General Motors, hate to throw y'all there like that, GM, was not there for him. And so he had a disillusionment with this country for some time. But he was a man of grit. He was a man of faith and had an unusual approach and practice to it. But he believed in voting. And he asked every time, "Did you vote?" And I remember when President Barack was elected, he just looked at me in the face and said, "Well, sir," in his old Southern drawl, "I never thought I'd see it in my life." He passed that May after that election. But he always told me, "You are as smart as anybody in this world. You put your pants on one leg at a time, just like them. You smarter than them." And he would always tell me that. That's why I think I'm so smart. But those things I carried into that ballot with me and voted my conscience, and I feel like I've done part of my civic duty. The other part is to be engaged, right? And to lobby and to be involved in what you want, that you desire for your feet, your block, your neighborhood, your community, and the world. Now get involved in the work. God bless America. God help America. God bless Joe Biden. God help Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris. And I pray that by this time tomorrow, we will have excellent results. I know that God is in control, and I believe in this process, He's given us an opportunity to have some power in what happens. And I know there are people that don't espouse that, and that's okay. I think you should vote, and I think you should. Children, I've already talked to Autumn. She is voting, and tell her friends and tell other young people, get up, get out, and vote. Tell 7 people. I'm ready to tell 7 more, especially some young folks. It's a group of young folks I haven't talked to in a bit. I'm going to our personal page and saying to them, get up, get out, and vote. Most of them probably already have. They're pretty savvy. Karen Devane, it's so great. Thank you for being on here on your own LinkedIn. Wow. I am praying as well. I ran into a GSD employee whose name is Henry or last name is Henry. I didn't recognize the name because, I don't service GSD anymore. But I turned around and said, "Hey, I'm looking at your uniform because you're general services." And I used to be the HR. And he said, "What's your name?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, I heard that name." I was like, "Oh, Lord." But uh, I am praying. I am praying, Karen Devane. I prayed last night. I'm praying today. And I just want, I want to change. Uh, I want to change in leadership. And I'm hoping that the rest of the country does as well. And I'm hoping that that's what people in that secret moment are voting for change. So, and I hope plenty of people are voting for change. And in some areas, I don't want change. I don't want, I want Gary Peters. And so, you know, I want Cynthia Miller in some areas. I don't want change as it relates to the person. But I do want to see us move forward and progress. So thank you for that, Karen Devane. Thank you all. I am live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch TV via Restream Mobile. And so I'm having a different experience. It's my first time going live on Restream Mobile. It's about 46 degrees here in Northwest Detroit, Metro Detroit on the Northwest side. I'm Marcus Holmes. I'm going to sign off shortly. I just wanted to say I voted. Did you? Will you? Are you? Please, sir, please, ma'am. Cast your vote, your composite vote that is a referendum on your pocket, your principle, your party, and policies. That's right, Karen. God is still on the throne. He will not come off the throne for this, but I think He has empowered us to stand up and stand sure in our conviction to cast our ballot and vote. Um, And so I'm grateful and thankful for the right and privilege to vote. And I'm voting in the spirit of Herbert Holmes. What about you? You can vote in the spirit of Otis Moss Sr., whose um, documentary I played last night, Otis's Dream. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it last night. It's on a number of different outlets. Otis Moss III wrote and directed it for his about his grandfather's quest to vote. It was his dream to vote, and so you should watch that. I think it will uh, just empower you, inspire you to share with others to vote. So have a great day. I don't know if I'm going to keep the TV on and stuff on to hear all of the news junket and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to keep all of that on, but at some point later this evening, I'll check back in. We normally do our Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Because of the election, we may just come on briefly just because the polls will just be closing and people will be getting uh, a lot of the results. Hopeful that these results will be what will bring us change, bring us back to a path of pride. We can start to work on some of these barriers that keep us separate and have for many years. Thought we had begun some work on them, but it's important to note how quickly you can devolve depending on who is the leader. It is a God given privilege to vote. Thank you for that, Karen Devane. Thank you all across all platforms. Have a great, wonderful day. I hope to see you on the other side of change. Be safe. Wear your mask. Numbers are up. I'm going to be putting hand sanitizer in just 1 second. And I see good. I looked up and saw good officers patrolling. I appreciate that. So that people feel comfortable. Fantastic. Have a great day.